Zur, Eternal Schema, is a 3 mana 1/4 in Esper legendary creature human wizard. This enchantment's matter commander reads as follows. Enchantment creatures you control have Death Touch, Lifelink, and Hexproof, and pay 1 and a white for target non-aura enchantment you control to become a creature in addition to its other types, and has base power and toughness equal to its mana value. It should come as no surprise that our deck is going to have 26 creatures, mostly enchantment creatures, 32 enchantments, 10 other non-land spells, and 31 lands. Let's jump into the deck. With Zur buffing up and protecting all of our other creatures, it makes them a house in the command zone. The whole deck is about getting engines and critical mass together with a collection of shrines, both creature and non-creature, and a range of ability granting buffs from our creatures. Archetype of Courage gives all of our creatures first strike, which combined with the death touch that Zur provides means that our creatures will almost never die from combat. And to further secure our creatures, we have Runetail, which when it enters, if you have 30 or more life, flip Runetail, which prevents all damage to creatures you control. Additionally, we've got stacks pieces like Spirit of the Labyrinth and Eidolon of Rhetoric, as well as some Enchantress creatures. We've got powerful recursion engines with Nightmare Shepherd, Thassa Deep Dwelling, and Athreos, God of Passage, and persistent disruption effects like Doomwake Giant. Outside of board wipes, our opponents are going to have very limited ways of dealing with our critical mass, so we want to make sure that we're not overextending into them. The engines that we mentioned before, however, will help to protect us and provide us with an extra layer of security. Feel free to reduce any number of creatures that you're not a fan of in this list if you want to run more interaction like counterspells. Our non-creature enchantments form the bulk of the deck, where we've got more stacks pieces, more protection pieces, buffs for our creatures, and would you believe it, more engines. Our single target and lord buffs include Ethereal Armor, All That Glitters, Machiko's Reign of Truth, Always Watching, Honor the Pure, and Ethereal Absolution. We've got ramp and card draw effects with Mystic Remora, Birth of Meletus, Black Market Connections, the Restoration of Aganjo, Honden of Seeing Winds, and Sanctum of Calm Waters. You'll see loads of disruption in the list: Meathook Massacre, Leyline of the Void, Revenge of the Ravens, Honden of Night's Reach, Back to Basics, and Curse of Leeches, just to name a few. Revenge of the Ravens fits into a suite of pinging effects that drain your opponents with Sanctum of Stonefangs and Sanguine Bond. The shrines are obviously excellent in a list like this, adding to both devotion and empowering each other. Don't forget we can cast everything at flash speed with Leyline of Anticipation, and our engines in Bitter Blossom, Court of Grace, and Hallowed Haunting should get the job done. As you can see, we're really light on everything else in the deck. We've got a few targets for Urza's Saga with Expedition Map, Helm of the Gods, and Shadow Spear. Expedition Map is going to be great for us being able to find cards like Cabal Coffers or Urborg so that we can ramp really effectively. Helm of the Gods is just a great cheap equipment spell that will pump creatures like our commander, which has evasion, to get in for lethal damage. Shadow Spear for lifelink and trample, which is also one of the 3 targets that we have for Stoneforge Mystic, with the other 2 being Nettlecyst and Cauldron Complete, both really great cards in this deck. Giving indestructible to creatures, even if it is very expensive, is super valuable. I don't need to tell you that black has access to the best tutors in the game, so if you want to run them, feel free to. Enlightened Tutor and Idyllic Tutor are also really good in this deck as well. The only other thing to mention in the list is our removal suite, which is March of Otherworldly Light, Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, Void Rend, and Prismatic Ending. All of these represent premium removal options, but you can definitely alter these as much as you'd like. We're a base white list overall, so that means that our Serra Sanctum can actually get some work done, as well as Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. Don't underestimate the combination of Urborg and Cabal Coffers, but consider what your hand texture looks like before you make a decision about which direction you wish to ramp into. The remainder of the list is really around color access, and a few other pieces like Vesuva and Hall of Heliod's Generosity to allow us to either recur or create additional situations where our lands can generate as value. So there's some cool interactions with this deck where Zur enables some really weird and wonderful things with Nightmare Shepherd and Athreos. If ever one of your non-enchantment permanents is targeted, you can respond to that targeting by activating Zur Eternal Schema. This will fizzle the ability, as it will now have hexproof, but if your opponent removes Zur, it will no longer have hexproof, and as such, can be destroyed. The cool thing about this interaction with Nightmare Shepherd on the field, as it will die as a creature, Nightmare Shepherd will see it die and create a token copy of it if you choose to exile it. What it does do is it changes the subtype to Nightmare and changes its base power and toughness to 1/1, but it doesn't modify whether or not the creature is a creature. So it will return to the battlefield as a non-creature version of that enchant. The same principle applies to Athreos, God of Passage, and incidentally, Zur can also be used to animate your god creatures before the devotion check is met. Thanks so much for checking out the video. It's been really awesome putting together this list. The shot that we made a few weeks ago seemed to just do really well, so I just couldn't help myself but make a more longer form piece of content for Xur. I hope you enjoyed the deck tech, and if you're interested in more content like this, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.